Hi everybody, so today we're going to do a review of the KJV ER Sword Study Bible, and then I'll also just tell you a little bit on this KJV Sword Study Bible as well. So they're really super similar, with the exception that this one is the easiest KJV Bible to read, but they both have red letter in the Old and New Testament. They both have the same margin study guide, topical concordance, book summaries, and study aids. But in this one here, they just replace some of the archaic words with the modern day equivalent, but it doesn't change any of the doctrines. So they're both giant print indexed in black letter. This one is a newer type box, which this is one great feature, the word for word. So with every word for word Bible purchase, Whitaker House will donate a Bible to someone in need. So I think that is just awesome. So I'm going to give you the shots of the ISBN numbers on both of these. So we've got the KJV ER version there and the KJV version there. So the Bibles themselves, they both look identical. They both have the same exact pagination. So if you open them both up to the same spot, everything's going to be identical. Same exact everything. Same also with their personal size. They have a personal size which has the same pagination. So as you can see, they're both the same covers. So we're going to focus more on this one here, so I'm going to move this one out of the way. One thing that if you do get one of these that you will notice right off the bat as soon as you open it, and before you even take it out of the cellophane, the thing smells awesome. I mean, you can smell the leather before you even take it out of the cellophane. It's just fantastic. So we've got Holy Bible with the sword, and it does say Hebrews, and I can't remember what verse is there. But we've got a tooled line all the way around the perimeter. Get you a close-up on that. And I'm not sure if this, on this leather, it is a genuine leather, but I don't know if this is a stamped-in pattern or if that's an actual grain. I kind of tend to think that it might be stamped in, but I could be wrong, so if you know, please comment. It is a very nice, thick chunk of leather. Reminds me a lot of the Lockman Foundation genuine leathers. It just feels really rugged and tough, like it could just take a lot of abuse. So on the spine we have Holy Bible, KJV ER, red letter, Old and New Testament, and Whitaker House. The other one looks exactly the same, other than it just says KJV. So kind of a big Bible. I like the size of it though. This one measures out at 9.5 inches tall, 7 3/4 inches wide. And this one is 1 3/4 inches thick. So we can see that we have black and yellow head and tail bands. We've got one black ribbon, but a very nice gold gilding. They did a great job with it. These corners on here look awesome. It is thumb indexed, so you can see that there. But just, they did a great job on that gilding. It's got a vinyl paste down liner. So nothing fancy there, but we've got a presentation page, and then this one gives us, it also does have Hebrew names of God indicated and explained, which is kind of neat, and then the special word meanings noted. So that has pretty much the same thing as the other one, with one exception that I'll show you here in just a moment. This one's printed in Korea. They do have a lot more options than those shown right there. So I think that this one may have been one that sat on the shelf for a while, because I did just get this one like a week or so ago. So it's going to give us information on the Hebrew names of God. It's going to explain the marginal markings, and then the boxed text as well. So we will look at that there in just a moment. I'm going to try to flip through some of these things quickly, because this is a lot of stuff to cover. So here is the names and attributes of God. So here's one example that we'll see right as we get into Genesis. So it's Elohim, which means the Almighty, and it tells us Elohim is a plural form of Eloah, occurring about 2,500 times. It is first used in Genesis 1:1. So all of these little names that they tell us, that's pretty neat to see that, and it tells you how many times it's in the Bible. So I really do like that. That's pretty unique. I don't think I've seen that anywhere else. So we've got definitions of biblical terms rarely used today. And then this is the biggest difference right here. So these 4 pages is going to really be the key difference between this one and the KJV one. So, as you see here, it is word changes, and it tells us, please check this listing carefully and note that no word of doctrine has been changed. So, just so you can see real quickly here, we've got committeth, it's been changed to commits. We've got concealeth, conceals. So they've gotten rid of a lot of the ETHs, the EDSTs on the end, stuff like that. So we've got consentedist, which is consented, and then there's also some like old style spellings. So here you can see dishonor. So we don't use the OUR anymore, it's just with the OR. But there is 4 pages completely filled with tiny text, 5 columns across. So that's a lot of words. So there are the 4 pages there. So that's the biggest difference, but none of those change any of the doctrine whatsoever. So each book is going to have an outline, a survey, the author, and then you'll get right into that book. So, as we've seen there in that example with Elohim, so we've got in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And it tells us that God, in this particular part of the original text, was Elohim. So that's kind of neat. We've got our cross references. But also, you can see here the let there be light, that is God speaking, and that is red letter. So it also explains these other words that are underlined, like divided would be separated. And then let there be a firmament, which would mean expanse. So that can be helpful on some of the words if people don't really know what they're talking about. So we've got like the 2 great lights. It's got the greater light and the lesser light. So it tells us that that means the sun and the moon. So that's pretty cool. So what we're going to look at is, we're going to look at this G5 here. So if we go into between the 2 testaments, between the Old and the New, is where we have the marginal study reference guide. So there's 3 different things that they focus on: God, plan, and man. So if you wanted to pause and read any of that, I'm just trying to make this video to where it's not forever and a day long. So we're going to look at, this is going to fall under the God category, and we're going to look at the G5, which is going to pertain to the Holy Spirit. So there's a lot of subjects in here, multiple pages, things that you can study, different topics, so that's pretty cool. So we're going to go right back to the beginning of Genesis, and we're going to look at that G5. If I can get there quickly anyway. Alright, so our first verse is, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And actually that's the wrong one. So we want actually verse 2, because we want the one that pertains to the Spirit. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So that verse number 2 is pertaining to the Spirit. So we see G5, which we just seen in the back, and then this number 10 is going to tell us to go to page number 10. So we're on page 10, and again we're going to look for that G5, which we can see right here. And it says, and the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. So it tells us that Lord in this form is Jehovah, and strive would mean contend. So we're going to go to G5, and then it tells us to go to page 67. So we get to page 67. Again, we're going to look for that G5. And it's going to give us verse 38. And Pharaoh said to his servants, can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? So again, that's a verse pertaining to the Spirit. And then it tells us to go to page 135. So we get to page 135. Again, we look for the G5. It tells us, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom and in understanding, and in knowledge and in all manner of workmanship. So you can see that all those verses pertain to the Spirit. So that's pretty cool how they do that. I like that they give you page numbers. It's easy to jump forward to the next reference. So I do like that. I'm going to give you one example on the red letter here. This is the only section of the Bible that I've seen this, to where I was reading in it and the text over here in chapter 39 is darker than the text over here. So, and it's darker than the text on this other side of the page. So you can kind of see there, the red letter on the left is lighter than the red letter on the right. But I only seen this really in this section. I did flip through it after that. So if that bothered you, I wouldn't let that deter you from getting this Bible, because it is really quite unique. So we do have Between the Testaments, so it's got a lot of information there. And then we get into the New Testament, and the page numbers do start over again. So when you start doing your references again, then you're going to have the new page numbers in the New Testament. So here is an example of the outlined text, how you can see this verse and this one here that are outlined in red. And those are quotations of God's Word by biblical speakers or angels. So that's kind of neat. The only thing on this Bible that I would really change would be on the margins here. We've got a 1-inch margin, but you can see each time I want to go and see one of those references, I kind of have to push that out of the way because it kind of just falls right into the gutter. So I would have loved to have seen them move this whole block of text over 1/4 of an inch so that it's not all tucked down in here. And then you would still have 3/4 of an inch of a margin, and you've got almost 3/4 at the bottom as well. So I wish they would do that, because you can see that that's going to be kind of hard to see. And it's a big Bible. You can see the words kind of falling down in there. But it's still not a deal breaker, but that is one thing that I definitely would like to see them change. Because there are some sections like here where there's quite a bit down there. And if you look at it from the top, you don't even see any of that, yet you've got all this space over here. So we've got a treasury of biblical information. I'm just going to show you real quick how much information you get. So on the left there we have the Bible. On the right, that is all the extra information. So in that sense, it kind of reminds me of a Thompson chain. So in all of this, there's a ton of articles. So some of the articles you may find a little bit odd. So just keep in mind that's man's opinion. It's not scripture. It does have a nice concordance. So we've got our words in bold, so that makes it nice and easy to find. It is a good size concordance, as you can see right there. That's quite a bit. So the concordance is 289 pages. Some of the really neat stuff that was in that extra biblical information is there's a harmony of the Gospels, the life and teachings of Jesus, and then there's also a section, and I'm going to describe that as I flip through some of these maps, of the messianic prophecies in the Old Testament and where they were fulfilled in the New Testament. So that is really cool. The maps, they're just black and white, as you can see, but they've got a lot of information that is in this box section here. So as you can see, we've got Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So if you refer to the map, you know that that solid line is going to be Ham. We've got this broken line that would be Japheth, and then you've got down here the dotted line, which would be Shem. So you've got all this extra information to kind of help you with that. So the maps are kind of unique. I do like that. So you've got quite a bit of information within them. And they're kind of cool that they're black and white. So like this one's got a lot of information on that as well. These kind of remind me of some of the stuff you'll see in some of the Thompsons. And then we've just got one blank page that you can use for notes, and then a cardstock page. So, but just a neat Bible. It's very unique in the information that it contains. It's great quality. They do have a personal size, which I believe is like a 9x6. Has the same pagination, so if you got one of these for home and it was too big to pack around with you, and you got the personal size, which is going to be quite a bit smaller, and you flip to page 752, you're going to have the exact same thing on the page in the personal size. So that's pretty cool. I do like that. So it's pretty unique. The ghosting in here looks a lot worse on the camera, of course, than it does to the naked eye. See if I can get you a little bit better shot. but when you look at it just with your eyes and not through the camera, it does look a lot better. So if it seems like the ghosting's terrible, I mean, it does have some ghosting, but it's not as bad as what it appears to be on the camera. So this would be a great Bible if somebody's looking for a King James Version that's just a little bit easier to read, to where they don't have to quite look up so many words. This one here would be a great option for them. If they're already used to the King James and they love the KJV, then definitely this one here would be a great one for them. I had this one already, but I've got someone who's thinking of wanting to maybe do a KJV, but they're leery of the archaic language. So I figured I would pick this one up and then let that person decide which one they want, because they're wanting a Bible, and I want to be the one to provide them with one. So that's a great blessing to be able to do that. So either one of these would be a fantastic option for you. There again is your ISBN number on the KJV-ER, and there is your ISBN on the KJV. I will put links in the description box. I'll try to link both Amazon and ChristianBook.com. Sometimes the CBD links really don't work too well, so if not, you'll at least have a link to Amazon, and then just go to ChristianBook.com to check it out. Pick yourself up one. They retail for, I want to say, $59. I got each one of these, paid $42 for this one, $42 also for that one. And that was like a year apart, so the pricing really hasn't changed. Alright, thanks for watching. Have a great day.